Hello and welcome to our October webinar. My name is Graham Hepburn, otherwise known as Quaver, and I'm joined by our training program administrator, Emily Hopkins. Emily, why don't you say your name?
Emily Hopkins.
Good. We're excited to be joining you today. We are well into the school year now, and you may be already preparing for holiday concerts. It comes quickly, doesn't it, Emily?
It does.
Often these holiday concerts include singing.
Yes.
Singing. We like singing. If you didn't know this about Emily, she is an opera star, aren't you, Emily?
Yes, you could say that.
Yeah, and she's performing, what is it?
Madam Butterfly.
Madam Butterfly.
Next week.
On the 12th of October in Nashville, and that's really great. So we're going to show you some of the choral resources available to you in the teacher dashboard, which will be useful for all kinds of different things.
Absolutely. So also recently, one of our very own Quaver teachers contributed some really great ideas to help put together a program for any occasion that you may celebrate with your students. So you can visit help.quavermusic.com/program support to see some of our suggestions. And also, remember the theme of our webinar series this semester is active music making. And what better way to actively make music than to use the instrument you're born with, your voice.
Okay, so what our last webinar in September, what was that about?
So that was all about student interactives and ways that the students can take these interactives and do body and percussion with them, do some vocal things, do melodic, rhythmic things, and really just actively make music with each other.
Yeah, so we talked about Melody Maker and some of the rhythmic patterns and body percussion they could do. And if you were there for the August training, the big digital field trip, we had a whole group come in from Quaver and do all pieces. So this is about singing. Obviously, singing is really the beating heart of any music class, isn't it? Songs, song choices, what you choose for your choir. So let's take a look at what we'll be covering in today's training. And as some of you might be wondering, what is under this desk? There is a rubber chicken under this desk. And there's a top hat. I'd no idea why. And there's some bunny ears. Okay, so the purpose of today's training, and we're going to put this up on the screen, I'm going to read it to you in a very, very statesman-like voice. The purpose of today's training is to explore and utilise choral resources for vocal technique development and concert preparation.
Yes, so the topics that we're going to dive into today are icebreakers and warm-ups, choral lessons, and
advanced resources.
I really just wanted that ah sound. It's a good vowel.
Good. With that being said, let's look at the objectives. Any good lesson has objectives. Our objectives today, I'm going to read one, Emily's going to read two, we're both going to read three, aren't we, Emily? That's the way it works. To utilise icebreakers and warm-ups effectively.
To understand the choral lessons and how to implement.
To explore additional resources found in the choral toolbox.
Oh, I forgot my part.
Don't worry, Emily.
So before we dive in, we do have a few housekeeping notes for you. Please join in on the webinar chat to the right. Mara is there to facilitate. Ask us questions, make comments about what you do in the classroom, and maybe we will read it on the air. And of course, if you run into any problems with the live feed, be sure to refresh your browser and sit tight. We'll be right back.
Okay, and if you're looking to get a PD certificate for your time with us today, go to quavermusic.com/PD credit and fill out the PD credit application. We'll also have a few other reminders for you at the end of the webinar, so stay tuned.
Yes, so now let's get started with an overview of Quaver choral resources.
So we should also just say at this point before we dive in is that all of our webinars are really conversations with you, our users. So we have about 11,000 users now, and so we can't say that we are experts on like have a monopoly on the ideas for doing chorus and choral things. So please feel free to give your questions. You don't have to ask us questions. You could give us statements, tell us stuff that you do in your classroom, how you use our resources in the context of your own school. So Emily, come on, let's do this.
Yeah, so let's first start with the teacher dashboard. Where might we find those Quaver choral resources?
Okay, so remember last month we were looking at student interactives, or as Americans say, student interactives. And imagine if student interactives and Quaver choral resources were having a wrestling match and student interactives won. Quaver choral resources would be there underneath there.
Boom.
Wrestle to the floor. There it is. So we click on that. It is a very wonderfully made area of Quaver, which we're really proud of. Of course, we'd love to have more pieces in
Absolutely.
We'd love to have more repertoire. There are other choral resources if you search for them, Resource Manager, but these are the ones that we've really sort of focused on.
Absolutely. So along the top, you'll notice these choral lessons, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. That functionality is going to be consistent with Quaver curriculum lessons and song-based lessons, so it's going to be really familiar to you.
The only difference is that here you've got a play button on the screen, so of course we know that if you're choosing a choral program, you want to hear the song, and you kind of have an idea from your choir normally, don't you, what they can do and what they can't do. So, and we've tried to have a mixture of original songs, world music songs, songs from the curriculum that we've added parts to, and folk songs as well. So you can click and listen. So let's listen to Cumberland Gap. Emily, give us a little taste of Cumberland Gap. It's all violin at the moment.
It's great. There it is.
There it goes. Okay, good.
Also, down below, you'll notice the choral toolbox, and we'll be diving into some areas of that. But that's going to include icebreakers, warm-ups, sight reading, planning resources, assessments, and additional resources. And really, those planning resources are going to be very helpful as far as figuring out how to get started with your choir and even selecting repertoire.
Yeah, so having a choir isn't an easy thing to do. I know many of you go to state conferences, music conferences, and always the choral workshops are full up. Some teachers don't have choirs, they're a little bit kind of nervous about having them. So looking at our planning resources, how to start a choir, how to sustain a choir, what kind of choir. There's all kinds of different choirs that we see as people send us videos. There's kind of choirs that sing in a poppy sort of style. Others have a very pure tone. Others are more use folk music. And then your kind of program choir, if you do a program and you just get all of the kids involved and you want them all singing. So all kinds of different types of choir. So we hope that these resources and the other songs that we have in Quaver will help you plan your choir programs.
Absolutely. So a couple of things on how to use these resources. Really, it's ultimately up to you. So first things first, it's really important to identify your needs. Are you wanting to use a quick activity here and there? Icebreakers and warm-ups really lend themselves to that. Maybe you want to use a full lesson over time to prepare a piece for concert. We're going to get you through that as well. Maybe you're looking to assess students' skills through sight reading or allow them to self-assess post-performance. We'll talk about that. And really, ultimately, we want students to build good vocal technique. So we have some great resources for you to help your students in that process.
And also, some of these, even if you haven't got a choir and you're watching today, lots of these warm-ups and icebreakers and even some of the sight reading you can use in your general music class. Some teachers we know do warm-ups and do icebreakers every single lesson with all of their different students. So all of this stuff, as we've said before, can be used in other areas of Quaver. Emily!
Yes.
This is what I want you to do.
Yes.
I want you to go forth to the table and take the first section of this webinar and talk just about icebreakers and warm-ups and all that kind of thing.
I will do that.
Okay.
All right, let's
Emily,
take a look.
as she normally does now in the webinar, will leave me. She will go. She prepares to tell us about warm-ups and icebreakers. It's going to be brilliant. I'm going to stay here because there's some things that she wants me to join in with, and I'm never one to duck an opportunity to join in with things. Emily, over to you.
Excellent. So one of the best places to start any music class or any choir rehearsals is with icebreakers and warm-ups. So we're going to discuss both of those sections found in your choral toolbox. With icebreakers, these activities are really great for preparing for singing and transition activities and setting expectations. Warm-ups are going to lend themselves really well to breath support, vowel production, rhythmic and harmonic challenges. So we're going to dive into those two areas. So if you're just starting out and really want to pick just something here and there, first thing, identify your needs. What are you needing to work on? So let's say that you're needing to work on proper posture. We're going to check out some of those activities found in the icebreaker section. One example that I loved using with my students as they were getting used to taking something very casual, playing around with stuff, and into a more formal performance type setting, we would actually look at this singing positions screen. So here you've got a couple of options. One is a standing singing position. Another is a sitting singing position. And then of course a more active listening position, position number 3. But it doesn't stop there. We would actually talk about what was happening on the screen, talk about the example these students were setting, and then we would look to see what those suggestions were. We'd flip over the cards and actually take a look at those bullet points to understand what was going to be expected of us. This was really great for my younger singers who maybe hadn't seen that type of thing in action quite yet and needed to see a good example before they were expected to do it themselves. Another thing, and we're actually going to do this one, Graham.
Okay.
Another really great one, prepare the body. Okay. So prepare the body is a great way to transition. Maybe you need a quick icebreaker in the middle just to get students, get their wiggles out. This would be a great one for that. So we're going to drag and drop a few things. You can duplicate a couple. We're gonna add it all in there, and you can select the tempo at which you would like to do this. You select begin, and we can do this seated. We can actually reach up. We're gonna do stretch up first and stretch up. This is really great too for students to actually maybe take the lead on something. Maybe you want some students to actually stand up there and do this for their fellow students in the class. It's really, really great. And it feels really good for you, the teacher, too. So these are really great activities for you to do.
Am I doing good?
It's really good.
Am I doing good?
It looks great. Yeah. All right, we're gonna pause it right there, and we're gonna move on to some things that you can do to prepare your breath. So breath support is an absolutely imperative piece for preparing any type of singing. Students need to become aware of what their lungs and their diaphragms are capable of doing, and they might not exactly know how to do that just yet. In Icebreakers, there is Prepare the Breath, and we're actually going to head over into warm-ups because there are a couple of others that we can take a look at. So there's a really great screen that discusses breath anatomy, but some activities for you to do with your students include fiddle breaths, bridging the breath, and one that we're going to do right now, Graham, pant like a dog.
Pant like a dog.
Yes. All right, so this is going to require good posture. So reflect back on our good sitting posture screen. And we're going to pant like a dog for 5 seconds. Are you ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
Let's do it. Now, as a student, I always thought that felt so silly. It felt like it wasn't doing anything. I often find myself as a grown-up, even as I'm preparing for operatic singing, doing activities like that just to be more in touch with what my diaphragm needs and what my diaphragm's capable of doing. So lots of fun things there on Pant Like a Dog. Now let's say you're needing to work on some vowel quality. We have a number of things that might help with that as well. A favorite that teachers tell us about is the hooty owl vowel. That's a great one. But another one we're going to point out today are the tonal vowels. It is really helpful for students to not only hear the way something is supposed to sound, but also see what that might look like. So you'll notice that each of these vowel sounds is going to look a little bit different with how the mouth is shaped. Not only outside, but there's a lot of stuff happening inside with the palate and soft palate, hard palate. Everything is adjusting to help make that sound. So within this activity, you can press play, you can take a look at that activity, change your vowel up. Maybe you're doing it on an E vowel. Maybe next time you want to do it on an Ah vowel. Let's take a listen. A nice sound in that key too. Now you might decide that you don't want to show it and you want students to just listen to it. You might also decide to take that mixer out so you can actually listen and focus in on what your students are creating. This is also a great activity that you can take away from the screen and maybe stand at your piano. You can be leading it, your students can be leading it. You have a number of options, and these icebreakers are there to support what you're doing in your classroom. So I have some comments.
Get in.
Yes. So Allie asks, will there be new choral resources soon?
We hope to. Shall I answer that?
Yeah.
We hope to do more choral resources. What would be really great is for you to tell us what kind of songs that you would like. We are in the process of doing a curriculum 2.0, would you believe, and which will be out next summer. So please send us your ideas. What sort of songs would you like to see? There's always not a controversy, but a discussion about what type of chorus pieces would you like? Would you like them to sound more poppy with backing tracks, kind of that kind of style, or more pure sounding, or really pure chorus sounding? If you played a little bit of Jubilate Deo, it's a lovely sound. So there's lots of different styles. So please send us in your ideas, and if you've got ideas, I'd love to hear more of this. Do you want choir pieces with parts, with all instrument accompaniments, or with modern band accompaniments, with boomwhacker parts? All kinds of questions. So please, you tell us, and we'll see if we can do something.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I have to say, there was lots of love for Hootie Owl. So thank you guys for telling us what you are enjoying using. And as Graham said, send your suggestions our way, and we'd love to see what we can do to make it happen. I'm going to turn it over to you, Graham. Are you ready to talk about some choral lessons?
I'm ready, yeah. So
Excellent.
the other thing to look at is we're going to just drill down into one of these actual choir lessons. Thank you, Emily, for delivering the mouse and the keyboard in such a delicate way there. If we click on Jambo Bwana, here's Jambo Bwana. Now this is delivered in the way that all of our quaver lessons are delivered. And what we try to do is actually break down the piece for you. Now when you're teaching a choir piece, first of all, it's the responsibility, as you know, of the teacher to know the piece really well, to know what's in the piece, and to know how the piece is sort of put together, how the piece is sort of engineered, if you like. So Jambo Bwana, it's a Kenyan piece. It's got Swahili. It's in the language of Swahili, which is really good because this particular piece is fairly simple. There's only 7 different Swahili words in it. So if you want your choir to get into a very simple other language song, this is a good one to use. Secondly, this has got a melody, a counter melody, a descant, and body percussion. So they're the 4 elements, as you'll see as we go through this piece how it's broken down. Let's launch it, and I'll show you some of the various screens that are in this lesson that you might not have discovered before. Now we've got an about the song. We have an about the song here. I would probably put this right at the beginning of my choir because I want them to know what the song is, where it's from. It depends. Other teachers would like to do the warm-ups, then do some discovering the song, and then find out what it's all about. So let's have a look at about the song. This is a song that was actually a Kenyan pop song, Emily.
That's amazing.
It is, isn't it? A Kenyan pop song by a band called Them Mushrooms. Not those mushrooms, Them Mushrooms. Okay, in 1982, this was released in 1982, and then we can have a look at the different things about the piece. It's always good to contextualise the piece and know where it's from. And this is a Kenyan piece, as I said before, and is in the language of Swahili. I would probably, if I was doing this as a teacher, I would then show the pronunciation. So here's our 7 phrases, like I told you, and of course this is quite a good one because it's got a Hakuna Matata. So probably most of the students that you're working with will have seen the Lion King version 1, 2, 3 or 7, and they will know the word Hakuna Matata. So you've got Jambo Bwana, and you can hear it. We found Nashville is a great place to live and work because it's a melting pot, lots of different nationalities. And so we found a Kenyan friend who came and did the voice for us.
Jambo Bwana.
Jambo Bwana. Did I do that good, Emily?
That was great.
Habari gani.
Habari gani. And also this particular language is quite easy for pronunciation. There's similar consonant and vowel sounds as there are in English. So really good one to start with. Okay, so there's pronunciation, there's about the song. And also I told you that there's 3 different parts to this song. So there's the harmony part, which will come up. And the harmony parts, you can choose, obviously depending on the level of your students, you can choose whether you want to do the harmony parts or not. You might just decide to do melody, descant, body percussion. Let's just have a little play of this. This is quite a hard piano part, and when I played this at the Texas conference, I went wrong.
Jambo, Jambo Bwana, habari gani? Nzuri sana. Wageni, wakaribishwa. Kenya yetu, hakuna matata.
This is where there's body percussion part, so you might have your students in two groups. Because often in choir as well, it's not just about the piece, it's about how you stage that piece. So how you put that together in front of the audience, how your students are going to stand. A lot of modern choirs do sort of movement and allow the students to move as they're singing. When I was in school, we all had to stand like we were statues and sing just from the mouth. But when I've seen modern choirs, modern elementary and middle school choirs, they're moving to the music like their bodies are really enjoying it, and there's that sort of liberty to do that. So there's the harmony part. This is another screen. So here we've got the body percussion broken down and the descant part. So we're kind of breaking the parts down because we know that in an elementary choir rehearsal, it's not quite as simple as just giving out the octavo and say, we're starting at measure 7 and we shall be rehearsing measure 7 to 16 today. You want some sort of variety. You want the warm-ups, you want a little break, then the icebreaker, and then you're breaking down the piece, and eventually you put all the parts together, and it is kind of the skill of rehearsing is a very big part of having a successful choir. So you've got the descant and the body percussion, there's the harmony parts, and also there's the actual choral score where we've got a djembe part and we've also got a shaker part. So if you wanted a group to be at the side doing djembe and shaker, they could do that as well. So all of our lessons, all of our choral lessons have got those different options in the full score. Emily, I think it's about time for you to come back.
I think so. We have
about
a really
time for you to
great
come back.
question as well.
Oh, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so the question is, where do I find octavos? And you actually have a couple of options here. When you are in the actual lesson, there is an octavo screen so that you could actually maybe turn on the draw tool and like section out what you're working on.
Let me show you that. So
please,
if you go to worksheets, you can find the octavos here. So here's the Jambo Bwana octavo. You can download that. You can actually, I think you can buy them from Quaver, can't you? Get them from Quaver as well.
Yeah, I think they have some really nice ones.
Or if your students have got the octavos in front of them and you want to show them where to kind of, which parts of the octavo to look at, we have got octavos here, sort of interactive ones, if you like. Now, you wouldn't learn the song from this because it comes out on a screen too small. But what you can do with this is say to them, okay, this, we're going to use your draw tool. We're going to be working on this section this week, which is on page 7. So it gives you the ability to point out and help them to read an octavo, because they can be quite complicated. When an elementary student, 4th or 5th grader, looks at an octavo, it can be very intimidating. So you can tell them and use this screen to draw the different parts of the octavo. This is the piano part. This is the, oh, actually, is that the piano part? I think that might be the percussion part. This is the piano part here. And then you can show them different lines you're going to be working on. You can circle also the bits that you think we need to really work on today. So this is like an interactive octavo. They will be having their own ones in front of them, but the two work together to help them to connect.
Absolutely.
Okay, Emily,
Yes.
take us. We're coming into home plate.
Yes,
here.
we are. Actually, we are. So we're going to take a look at sight reading and assessment. So first, in sight reading, if you have ever seen the Recorder Olympics, this is going to look very familiar to you. I'm actually going to select the one that goes with Blast Off, I believe. Right here, you'll notice it's scaffolded very nicely. You have multiple options for differentiation here. Along the top, you see bronze, silver, and gold options. You've got 4 different snippets for each of those sections. And you also have tempo options down below. So you can continuously build on where students are, introduce new techniques or new challenges to students. For example, the gold level of this is going to introduce some syncopation that students might not be very familiar with.
And these are all parts of the song as well. So these
Absolutely.
are all parts of the song Blast Off, but we kind of cut them up into little chunks. So for example, in the green box, let's hear the tonic, Emily. So I'll sight sing the green box.
Yes.
Do, 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 your turn.
Do, do, but I would go up an octave.
Go on then.
Beautiful.
Look at that. Quaver's falsetto is in full action. So what you could do is you could have one part of your choir doing the red box and one part of you doing the green box. So let's try that. I'll do the green box first. Do, 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 do,
Do, mi, mi, so.
do. Good. So, or you could actually sing one of those parts and ask your choir which part you sung. So lots of different
I like that.
things to do with there.
Absolutely.
Or you could actually just point to different parts and they have to sing those parts. So lots of different options with the sight reading. And these are in the lessons as well. So there's a Jambo sight reading, which I didn't show you because I knew you were going to cover it.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, as Graham mentioned, we're really putting this into the context of the song. So it's taking apart the song, but then they actually get to put it all together. So that's right there for you within that sight reading activities. The next thing we want to talk about is assessments.
So with assessments, we've put, with the new standards, Create, Perform, Respond, Connect, it's about assessing the process. And actually in the perform area, it talks about students helping you to put together the repertoire for your concert. And if you're comfortable with that, in Quaver you could put together a whole bunch of songs and you could have your first choir rehearsal where you play all the different songs and you say to the kids, the students, which ones would you like to do? So it goes to that level of kind of helping put together the project. And then of course there's evaluating the finished product. So we've created a rubric and you could use this rubric, introduce it in your first rehearsal, cover it again in your sort of fourth or fifth rehearsal, and then of course look at it at the end to see how they've been doing. You could, if you wanted to go as far as putting them in the teacher admin panel and give different students marks, you could do that.
Absolutely.
And these printables also very useful. For example, if you had a sort of after choir celebration the following week of choir, you didn't want to do rehearsal but you wanted to watch the video of the performance, they could use these printables to assess and self-evaluate.
Absolutely. That's a really important piece, is putting that learning into the hands of the students, and self-assessments really allow them to do that and reflect on their work.
Yeah, and there's also writing sentence guides there as well, and they're at different levels for students to do that as well. So let's just recap, Emily.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Choral Resources, yes, we would love to have more songs. If you go into Resource Manager, there are some other songs that aren't in Choral Resources that you can use as Choral Resources, and you can add in the warm-ups and the icebreakers. So we talked about that. All icebreakers, warm-ups, you can use them in your general music class as well to get your students being aware of their vocal cords and breathing and what have you.
Absolutely. So we want to review all of the objectives that we actually had for you today. Let's do it. And this time I'm going to join you on number 3.
Okay, good. To utilise icebreakers and warm-ups effectively.
To understand the choral lessons and how to implement.
To explore additional resources found in the choral toolbox, like sight reading and assessments. Okay, a couple of things to remember before we leave you for another month. Go.
Yes, quavermusic.com/PD credit is where you can get credit for joining us today. So please fill out the PD credit application there.
If your students want some more Quaver notes, there's a special code, which is Pumpkin Bones. It's special, it's secret. Pumpkin Bones. P-U-M-P-K-A-N Bones.
Also, if you need any help from our team, we have a number of ways to do that. You can visit help.quavermusic.com and check out some of our archived videos and video training courses, or you can always reach out to our customer service team at info at quavermusic.com. We also have some October announcements. Are you ready for those?
Yes, do it.
Yes. So our next resource release is in a couple of weeks on October 17th. Stay tuned for a new resource manager and several new holiday ORF accompaniments.
Yeah, in our survey, we always do a survey every year for our teachers, and one of the things that they use the most is Resource Manager, but it's also the thing we get most comments about. So we've been working hard over the summer to try and improve it. So you'll see a new look Resource Manager, not completely new, but a new look Resource Manager October 17th.
Yes. Also, we want to thank those of you who participated in our unique contest. We have a winner, Rivers Island Technology Academy in Lathrop, California. They won a Skype call with Quaver himself. So congratulations to RiTech. We're excited. That's awesome.
Okay, now this is something, this is a bittersweet for me. Bittersweet. I mean, it's the Halloween contest. It's coming up where your students can suggest what Quaver dresses up as. I've been all manner of things. Last year, I was ukulele playing Magic Unicorn, and I had blue glittery makeup in my ears for the next 2 weeks, and my daughter kept pointing it out to me. So it can be anything. It can be anything. Then we vote on the top 3, and then I will become that for Halloween.
Yeah, so visit quavermusic.com/costume19 for all the details, and you can submit your suggestions there. We also have a webinar coming up in a month. November 5th is our next webinar, so please join us for that.
And we're going to leave you with our Thanksgiving, our song of the month, which is Thanksgiving at Our House. You're thinking about Thanksgiving after Halloween. Thanksgiving will be come racing round the corner, and you'll be thinking, oh, what songs can we do for that? So this is a great one we wrote last year for Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for joining us. Happy rehearsing your choir in the next few weeks. This is us saying boom, chicka.
Boom.
Out.
Everyone's coming to stay. They've been driving all day, coming from so far away, just to get here and be together with all of our family. And I'm thinking that we absolutely agree that this is our favorite time of the year, when we take the time to say thanks for all of the things that are good in our lives. There's a million ways we can celebrate and a million reasons why, but it doesn't really matter as long as we're together. We love just feasting and hanging around. Thanksgiving at ours. Turkey and pumpkin pie, cranberry sauce on the side. These are the reasons why this is my favorite time of the year, when we take the time to say thanks for all of the things that are good in our lives. There's a